Hey, good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday evening, December the 29th. John Russell here alongside of Big Ace, and we're happy that you're along with us tonight.
That was really nice. That opening you put together.
Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, it's I can't explain. I haven't felt this like emotional about hey Dan, absolutely. Yeah. Hey Chris, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. I haven't been this emotional about like somebody dying in a long time. And I think part of it is because everything that comes out and what a good guy and a family oriented guy he was, and just the fact that he's so young and his kids are really little kids, and it's just, and it's I think the other thing to me is that he was definitely not allowed to be himself. Although if you go back and watch him in Chikara and some of that stuff, his character has always been himself. But he really started, in my opinion, hitting his stride with AEW. And it's just a shame that we won't get to see what his potential would have been.
Yeah, we were even talking about how he could have came back and not have to even be in Dark Order. Like, they're fine without him, and he could go on and do his own thing, bigger things. But, whoa, by the way, I just got caught off guard by how different the graphics look for the comments and stuff. They're like bubbles and not squares. That's weird. Wasn't expecting that. Man, it's just great. Well, so I was a lot of people in the wrestling community have been talking online, people in the companies, fans, a lot of people just coming together and sharing stories, stuff like that. And, someone was like, a lot of people, unless you're a wrestling fan, don't really understand. And it is interesting. I said this to someone else this week. I was like, the relationship between fan and talent in the professional wrestling world, there's nothing else like it. I don't know how to explain. I mean, you have your sports figures and all that, but I mean, again, it's wrestling, it's fake, it's whatever, but it's also larger than life. It's also theatrics and athleticism and all these things. And it's such a live thing. It's meant to be seen in person. You're meant to be there cheering these people on. They're meant to hear you. A lot of what professional wrestling is really give and take between the fan and the talent in the ring. And without one another, it's very hard for a show to go on. Granted, they have figured it out in the pandemic era, but again, they are two things that just go together. And wrestling's one of those things too, where you have opportunities to really get to meet the talent. And a lot of the talent usually are people who this was just their dream as a kid too. Like, I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
I want to grow up to be a wrestler. So when they get to that point, you see people like Bailey and like Sasha Banks and like Kevin Owens and on all these people who this was their dream to grow up and do this, and now they're doing it. So they're kind of grateful, and they treat their fans that way because they were a fan. So it's one of those things where it's like just the relationship between talent and fans. I don't think there's really anything else like it in the world in entertainment and sports or anything like that that can compare to what it is for like professional wrestling. So to have someone, because again, it's wrestling. All, well, don't wrestlers die all the time? Well, it may feel like that, but it's been a good while since a young, active current star has passed in this industry. And I think that's kind of the big shocker. And again, the revitalize of his career. He left WWE, goes to AEW, turns it around, is becoming this great thing. The BTE, it's funny because Dark Order was like, and started getting better. Then he came and it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Then they started doing the BTE bits. And it was just over after that. It was like they were as over as could be because they were like they were the by far have taken over BTE.
Absolutely.
Best bits on BTE now involve the Dark Order. I really don't care about anything else on it. It's kind of boring watching the Young Bucks and all that, whatever they're doing. And it's not that it's boring. It's just they're not as entertaining as the Dark Order was.
Right.
I still watch the one where Trent's mom throws the papers and misses.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then he yells at Silver and he's like, "You fall for Sue." Like, it just cracks me up every time when he just yells, you fall. Like, I laugh every time. And it's really sad. And then, yeah, you hear the stories of him as just a guy. And it's, I mean, man, and it's documented. You see all the things he said about being a father, the things for his kid. And it's just, again, it's just, you feel for the family. You really do. His oldest is 8 years old.
Yeah.
And to see and hear the things AEW's done really makes you be like, wow, good for you guys as a company. Because
and it's fantastic that they tomorrow night have, in essence, the whole show is a special show. They this is how much the guy meant to them. They've shoved their entire schedule back a week, so that they can.
So pay-per-view plans coming up in February for whatever the next pay-per-view are, all that's getting pushed to the side for right now.
Yeah.
This obviously is going to take presence for them. What's really special too is to hear that it sounds like his son basically made the card for tomorrow.
So here let me bring this up. If you're not familiar with what's going on, you've got several matches now. My understanding was that the match between Cody, Orange Cassidy, and 10 and the Taz crew is because Cody, Cassidy, and 10 were Brodie Lee's son's favorite wrestler.
Yep.
And that one for sure he booked. That one for sure is him.
Yeah, I haven't read clearly, but there's a lot of talk that he may have booked it. But there's a lot of
the rest of it, I think, are booked with him in mind. As you can see, there's a Dark Order member in every single one of those matches, and you can. I just got to think, and I'm not saying it as a spoiler, but it's solely for his son and the memory of him, which I think is very, very cool. And I think they'll all win. I don't think any of the Dark Order matches will lose.
No, and to be honest, I think you're gonna see, it's gonna be a real emotional Dynamite. Like, people who don't know wrestling, and you are like, I don't get it, I don't know anything about it. You don't have to take any context; just understand that, like, we're fans. You know what I mean? So, I do that too, Dan. But I mean, like, it's going to be a real emotion to show. I mean, you go back and think of those shows like when Eddie Guerrero passed, when Owen Hart passed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially the Eddie Guerrero one. I mean, they both were, but I vividly remember watching the SmackDown with Eddie Guerrero and how just emotional that was. So having the time to process, like, the locker room's going to be very amped up to get out there and just do this show tomorrow. But there's some other things that they did too. It was talked about that they taped a segment last week with his son going over on Kenny Omega and winning the title. And now it's also been said, and this is coming from Tony Schiavone, apparently, that after that happened, they did sign his son to an AEW contract that will be an official contract when he is of age.
Wow.
And that's been the talk too, because I've seen WWE guys that he was very close to even say, I will always hold my promise to you. Your kid is going to go over when he wrestles me. So, I mean, like, obviously this is what his son's always wanted to do. His dad was his hero. So it's just amazing that you're seeing this, like, and, you know, and that's going to even be emotional too, you know, down the line when his kid comes and debuts on AEW as his first real match. It's like, man, you know, and that's the other thing too, is I wonder if they'll actually do the, you know, it's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. Like, if that will become the new tagline for Dynamite, because a lot of people are calling for it, and it just seems like they'll do it. It really does seem like that would be something they'll do.
I found it interesting that they listed his son as -1.
I know, right? Isn't that great?
I love it.
I guess he has his own mask and everything. They said he came out with the Dark Order with like a kendo stick and was taking people out, and then eventually got in there with Omega and pinned him and got the title. So I mean,
that is so great.
Yeah, and a lot of it felt like they did that for Brodie. Like they did it so you can see it before it was over. So that's an amazing thing. And again, man, it's gonna be, and you've seen it too. Like, I don't know if you've watched did you watch the Raw After Talk or whatever they do? Raw Talk?
I didn't watch the Raw After show, but I heard it was very emotional, particularly with the fellow from the Dark Order. The trombone player. I can't.
Well, Xavier Woods and
Xavier Woods. There you go. I can't.
Both of them. Some really nice stuff, and you know, and you see the relationships, because again, these people are on the road. They've traveled the roads. They're around these people more than they're around their family at times. So, you know, to see Xavier to get so choked up that like R-Truth even started to like kind of console him on it's just stuff like that, you know, and seeing the stories. And, you know, it's funny. I think Kurt Hawkins last night tweeted like, hey, you did it graphic and you had a couple lines and some spots throughout the match to show them, but really should have been, you know, the boys and girls out there and do a 10 bell salute or a video package for them. And I will say, I was pretty impressed to see most of the wrestling community not just shit on Raw last night, because all they really did do was that opening package. To be honest, I feel like you put together a better package than they did.
But here's the thing. So, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, and I'm not saying they won't do it on Friday. Here's the thing. He didn't work for them. He worked for AEW. AEW, they don't want to. I don't feel like Vince is that much of an asshole that he would try to jump a tribute.
See, and because I saw a bunch of people getting well, that's all you're gonna give him as a graphic, and it was like, he doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah,
let the place he currently works at give him the proper tribute, and then and that's the other thing. I heard today that like WWE did do additional taping and interviews and stuff for him as tribute. It's unclear when it's going to come out. My guess was we'll see it on SmackDown, because they're going to let Dynamite do what they're doing first. Yeah.
And I think, I mean, it makes perfect sense. And in terms of being respectful, I think it's a matter of WWE being respectful of the hierarchy that probably needs to take place in wrestling. You know, I mean,
I'll tell you,
go ahead.
I have not seen more just chill, like positive vibes in the wrestling industry and fan base than I've seen this week in years.
Honestly, the last time, I mean, and I compare this situation to when Owen died. And the reason I do is because as much as I liked Eddie Guerrero OD'd.
There was vices, there was circumstance to it.
And I'm not saying that makes anybody any better, but it just makes it more tragic when it's somebody who by every indication lives a clean life.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's funny because you see people be like how does a in shape athlete not have issues like this, and again, no one knows what really happened. All they've said is that there was a non-COVID lung issue, and you never know. Stuff is hereditary, things like that. It could have been something that it was just going to happen. I'm sure you've dealt with that in life. I lost my brother at 45 years old to cancer as well.
huh?
And it was just like it happens, man. And sometimes it happens to people where you're like, this really isn't fair and it shouldn't happen to these people, and it does. So and in time we'll find out what's going on, and I don't want to talk about it right now. We can maybe touch on it at the end of the show, just because I feel like I don't want to bring any negativity into what we're doing right now. But obviously there's people out there who are saying other things or questioning and calling for things out in the wrestling journalism world, and just the wrestling community. And there's a time and a place. Like I said, first of all, if someone dies, eventually it is public news. Down the line, you can go find out why. It's going to be public domain. But again, an 8-year-old, and that's his oldest, and then they had a younger one and a wife who didn't expect this to happen. Give them their time.
Absolutely.
Give them their time. But I'll tell you what, one of the best matches I've ever seen at a pay-per-view in Minneapolis. Because let's be honest, most of the pay-per-views that have come to Minneapolis, they're usually not the greatest. Bragging rights, the TLCs,
stinkers.
Like we had SummerSlam that one year, which was like, woo! I've been to a SummerSlam. That's sick. But TLC, I believe 24 or not TLC, Elimination Chamber, I believe 2014, right before Mania 30. You had the Shield, you had the Wyatts, both hot as shit. Two biggest factions in WWE at that time, and all fans wanted to see was those two factions come to blows, and it happened at that pay-per-view. And I don't remember, were you at that 2014?
Is that the one where you and I sat?
We didn't go together. This is when I went with my former podcasting partner.
Well, yeah, but you and I sat together, and then Lou and his wife at the time sat down in the floor seats, and I thought
this because we had this is the only WWE event chair I have is from that pay-per-view. We had second row that night. We were literally right behind Cena's pod in the chamber match.
Oh wow,
all night. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, what was it? And not to get off the track, but there was one that you and I went and sat, and somebody else was with us, and then Lou and his wife at the time sat down, and they actually sat behind Harper and Rowan's wives.
Yeah. That was the Raw with the Slammies.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I think it was that night, which is funny too, because I believe I've sat behind his family as well at a Wisconsin lacrosse Wisconsin house show.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, so that night, Elimination Chamber, it was the first time we were able to see the Wyatt family versus the Shield, and it was by far the best match of that night. And the crowd was if you were in that building that night, it was coming unglued. Like, people were ready to see these two teams go. And they didn't disappoint. It was a great match. All 6 guys were phenomenal. That whole thing. I actually went back and watched it this weekend, just because I've seen people talking about it, and I was like, man, I was there. I should watch that again. And it was great. It was just a great match. Obviously it was kind of like a blowover match because that led right into Mania, where the Wyatts were against Cena, and the Shield. I don't even remember what the hell they did that night at WrestleMania 30. All I remember is Daniel Bryan won and the Undertaker streak broke. Mm-hmm. That's what I remember from that week. Yeah, man, it's just again, it's just a really, really sad deal.
Well, and for those of you watching, if you want to help support his wife, couple of things. First of all, Pro Wrestling Tees is giving all the proceeds from their any Brodie Lee shirt you buy from them goes directly to his wife. And then also for the month of January, CM Punk is donating all of his shirt sales, and Mick Foley as well. And I'm sure there will be more. There may have been more added before this, but basically, you can check it out if you want to get a shirt from one of these guys. Obviously, it'd be nice to have one from Brodie Lee. That'll go directly to his wife, and anything you get from CM Punk or Foley will also go to his wife, at least in the month of January. So,
yeah, I saw another one today too. That was like a different. It wasn't Pro Wrestling Tees. It was a different one.
Okay,
they were doing the same. It was like a Brodie Forever shirt. So,
oh, nice.
Renee Young retweeted that one. So, yeah, definitely. I'm gonna pick up a shirt this week from one of them. Just just something. Again, man, that's the hardest part of this whole thing is when you see how great of a guy he was and be like, dang, these kids, that's just rough. So, yeah, man. And tomorrow, like, it's first of all, and I'm just stating obvious things. It's not like, oh, they're gonna really whatever. But let's be honest, like all eyes are gonna be on Dynamite tomorrow.
Oh God, yeah.
I think we're gonna see ratings like we haven't seen before. Just like I said before, like we've seen so much just togetherness and just a community come together in the wrestling world because of this. Impact tonight even had a thing before for Brodie Lee. I mean, like it has stretched out over all the companies, all the platforms, and again, like all eyes will be on Dynamite tomorrow night. So, and I'm very interested if we'll eventually see the footage of his son beating up Kenny Omega.
I hope we do.
So
I hope we do.
Yeah. So Dynamite tomorrow. We'll talk about it next week, but yeah, it's gonna be special.
And let me just pop this up here again. We can run through this list. You got the Young Bucks and Colt Cabana against Matt Hardy and Private Party. And then Colt Cabana obviously is a Dark Order guy. Then you've got I gotta put my glasses on so I can read that. That's tiny.
I know, right? It's tiny. What's it? Eddie Kingston, the Butcher, and the Blade with the Bunny against Archer, Uno, and Stu Grayson.
That's going to be actually a lot of fun. And for those of you that are not aware, let me just pop this off real quick. Back behind me, I've got a match that I found from Chikara. That's Eddie Kingston and Brodie Lee. And you can go watch that without my fat head being in the way. It's free on YouTube. But I watched it, and it's fantastic. That's the thing. A lot of these guys, as I've been going through and looking at stuff, they all work the indies together in some way, shape, or form. Then another match you have is the Inner Circle against Hangman Page and Silver and Reynolds. Now, is that going to be the new Exalted one? Hangman? I don't know.
To be real honest, like it'd almost be better if
they didn't do anything at this point.
Don't replace them. I mean, at this point, just let it be what it is.
Yeah.
And especially and if you're gonna do it, they're gonna have to wait a few months at least before they do anything like that. Just because you got to be sensitive.
Absolutely.
Man, it's cool seeing Dark Order be the face.
Absolutely.
And all
also, you get
they're the face anyway.
Yeah. And then also you've got Anna Jay and Tay Conti against Britt Baker and Penelope Ford. And then again the match that Brodie Lee Jr.'s dream match, which is Cody Orange and number 10 against Team Taz. And Jericho will be on commentary all night long. So
it's gonna be a good show.
It's gonna be very good. And
you know what I mean? Like that's gonna be a hard show for the talent tomorrow night to get.
I think it's gonna be very difficult for him. Although if they did know, and if they have known, and my understanding was that he's been in the hospital since October.
Yeah, and like I said, they did know.
It'll be difficult, but it won't be like it was sudden.
Yeah, it won't be like they didn't see it coming completely, but I mean, it kind of did come out of nowhere, I guess, from what they were saying, from what Tony Schiavone said, is that basically on, it must have been Saturday, right, when he passed. They got like the entire AEW staff got an email saying 30 minutes, everybody on Zoom.
Oh, wow.
And they got on and told everybody that he had passed. So they kind of knew something was going on bad. They knew it wasn't going well. They knew that the worst could happen. But I mean, again, it was just one of the things I don't think they saw it coming. And again, too, I think people are also forgetting this too for his kids and his wife. This is the day after Christmas.
Right.
This all happened. So it's already a crazy time. So yeah, man, it's like I said, it's gonna be like, I couldn't do commentary. Like, I don't know how Jericho's gonna do that. You know, that would be hard to sit there all night and just talk about a very sad thing. So yeah, but it's gonna be a good show, man. Like, you're gonna see some cool stuff because of it. You know, you're gonna see some very cool tributes and ways of paying respect to a good man. So
absolutely,
yeah, man. Another just shitty thing to happen in 2020. So
yeah.
So let's talk about more shitty things that happened in 2020 with our best of list.
They're not all bad.
No, but I'm not gonna lie though. Like, it was kind of hard to remember a lot of stuff because it just all blended in together this year.
Well, so not only did it all blend together, but it also was difficult for me to remember because we had 3 months, almost 4 months, where we still had live audience, and for the life of me, on some of these things, I could not recall, like particularly when we're going to talk about what we felt was the best pay-per-view. I'm like, but there were people at that one,
right?
You know,
and I had to get out of that because I was like, well, I want to easily just say the Rumble because there was a whole crowd there.
And you know what? I mean, it's when we get to that one, there's a lot to talk about. But what should we start with? Let's start with the biggest headline of 2020, and your biggest headline: Jon Moxley signing with AEW.
I also have to say, I wasn't sure if all this happened in 2020, dude. I was so bad, man.
I know.
Like, I just. Yeah, it was just like I had to go and like look through like listings of all the company's pay-per-views this last year to kind of try to jog the memory, because literally for my like you said, the pay-per-view one, I was about to just say TLC because it was the last one I can remember. Isn't that pathetic, dude? I know. So yeah, biggest headline. I mean, obviously, I think this was the biggest headline in all of professional wrestling for the year, or the last few years. And I guess you could, so I guess you could say maybe the start of AEW, but was that technically 2020 or 2019?
It was towards the end, but I think I'm
going to go with this because the biggest thing of this is this was the first WWE guy,
right?
So that's why it was such a big deal. And then on top of that, he goes from being the guy that everybody thought could be doing amazing things at WWE, but never really got the shot, hops over to AEW, and next thing you know, he's the number one guy for PWI's top 100 for the year. I mean, just having a stellar career. So,
yeah,
that's I would say that was it for me, is Mox going to AEW.
Gotcha. Now, the big one for me was The Undertaker finally retiring. That's big news because he was always there when Vince needed him, and basically recreated himself how many times?
Right.
And I'm, to be honest, I'm surprised this wasn't yours because I know you're such an Undertaker guy.
I thought about it, but what scared me off is you never know with that guy. And Mania is around the corner, so I was like, I'm just not going to say that right now.
Hey, look, if we were doing this the same year that Ric Flair retired and had the big to-do in the ring, I would have said that was the biggest headline. And then guess what? When he would come back and find himself over at Impact or TNA or whatever the hell it was, and make me look foolish, do you think I would have cared that much? No. And if the Undertaker does happen to come back for any reason, I don't think he's going to wrestle again, but I mean, I'll bet you he's there for Legends Night, but I'm still not going to feel bad because I think he's retired from the ring. That's different than being one of the legends and coming and doing things for the company.
Yeah, I really do hope you're right on that. But my only worry is it's, as much as he wants to be like, it's time to hang it up. It's like, bro, just be honest. It's not up to you. You come calling if the old man calls your phone saying, I got an idea. So let's just be honest.
Yep.
I'm
going to pop this up here quick because Jason had a contract and we did. Yeah. We mentioned that we got that contract and we think it's very, very cool.
What happens if he like turns 17 years old and he's like, you know what? I don't want to be a wrestler anymore. I want to be a doctor. Like, does the next kid get the contract then?
He just takes the contract over to the Mayo Clinic and they let him in.
Well,
trades it up. I just start me off as an anesthesiologist. This is a wrestling contract, but it should carry a little weight.
I just wanted to change avenues. Is that all right?
Yeah,
I know, right? It doesn't even feel like we were on the cruise this year, but we were almost a year ago. Mm-hmm. Oh, how time flies when
it does.
Pandemic going on. Again, though, it came down to me of, take or retire was huge, but, brand new company that's going to actually be able to have a chance to give a WWE competition. And then they lose somebody that was such a big star. And they just never realized it.
Yeah, I hear you. All right.
What else?
Shall we move to best pay-per-view?
Yeah, let's do it.
There you go.
Yeah, man. Again, I struggled. It was really hard to try to remember full cards from all the pay-per-views this year because a lot of stuff just kind of flowed together.
Right.
To be honest, most of the pay-per-views that happened this year, I don't remember anything being a real barn burner from start to end either. A lot of stuff we saw this year had some really good matches, but they had some really not so great matches on those cards. The reason I'm saying this one though, is more of just to pay credit to WWE on how on the fly they were able to go from literally 2 weeks out from, like, it was 2 weeks before the actual date of Mania before they finally called it.
Yeah.
2 weeks before the date, people thought they were still going to Tampa Bay on planes and go into the stadium. So in 2 weeks to scrap that and put together this 2 days of Mania and then also introduce, which is now, I guess, going to be a thing, these cinematic matches, which again was a great way to, have Taker right off into the sunset if he is officially done. And again, you just saw some really great things like Drew McIntyre finally getting his dues. You saw Otis get his girl. Just a lot of really cool stuff did happen today, and it was just different and it's going to be a Mania you're going to always remember just because of everything surrounding it.
Yeah. Yep. So I would say that
it may not be the best pay-per-view of the year, but it is by far the most memorable, I would say, of the year.
I would say that those are good reasons. The best one for me was Revolution. And the reason it is because that's the one where Moxley won the title from Jericho, which was awesome. Yep. You had the Hangman Kenny versus the Bucks match for the title, which was awesome. I don't know why they have Rio there. She had the title. But I had a hard time.
Was she on the pre-show that night?
Yeah, I don't think. I think it was on the actual show, but I don't remember. I'd have to go and look.
Was that one of her 5 Nyla Rose matches?
Yeah. She'd just get thrown around. I had a difficult time picking between that and the Royal Rumble. And the reason I didn't was because if I remember correctly, there was some garbage in the Royal Rumble. The Rumble match itself, probably one of the best ones I've ever seen. But as a whole,
the men's one was.
Yeah. But as a whole,
with Becky was awesome for the women.
Yeah. But as a whole, it was not. I didn't feel like it was better than on a pound for pound basis. I didn't feel like it was better than Revolution. I don't know what you guys think, but that men's Rumble match, one of the best I've ever seen because it was 2 separate stories that were both awesome.
Yeah,
and I will always
Edge, right.
Pardon me.
That was the return of Edge too. So
it was the return of Edge. It was Lesnar saying, "Put me in first," and going, what did he go 20? And then
but when Drew McIntyre kicks him out
Dude,
I get lost in that moment still because I see that and I'm like, I can only imagine what it would have been like when he beat Lesnar in that stadium.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, yeah. But having said that, that was, I mean, and that's always going to be one thing that I remember simply because it was done so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. So Revolution was actually a second for me. Like that was up there. I was thinking about that one, and I was thinking Rumble too because I was like, obviously Edge coming back, that was huge. But then when I looked at the card, I was just like, the men's Royal Rumble match.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, to be real honest, though, I kind of like some of the NXT takeovers better than everything else, but I didn't know if that actually counted as a pay-per-view because those I don't think ever ran as pay-per-views. The takeovers specials.
Oh, that's right.
Because War Games is always good every year. The In Your House one this year I enjoyed.
Yeah, that was a good one.
You know, so yeah. What did he? Oh yeah, Full Gear Revolution.
Full Gear Revolution. Yeah, and I would.
Yeah, the Bucks and FTR at Revolution was, yeah, it was all right. Yeah, it was. Sorry, I don't know why, but I just got a message from work on my other computer, and I'm like, why are people sending me messages at 8:30 at night? I'm not on the clock. Anyways, yeah, it was. Again, it was a weird year for pay-per-view for just wrestling. You know, a lot of because I think a lot of things too to judge a pay-per-view too is reaction.
Yeah, definitely.
Pops, you know what I mean? Like, I've told you this. I will never forget the pop of when Rock beat Cena in Miami for 28. There was never been in a stadium like that before till that night. That was just crazy. So, I mean, the pops is something too that makes you really, oh yeah, remember back at this one when this happened? Because again, wrestling's it's a dance, man. It's a dance between talent and the fans. So, yeah, it's been a little bit more difficult to really remember on some of these pay-per-views, but I don't know. I think we have some good ones. Mania and Revolution. I'll take those.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't do bad. We didn't do a bad job. All right.
No, not like the next two categories.
So now we move to the biggest flop of 2020 and yours.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any explanation needed.
I don't even need to talk. I don't think you need to even talk about it.
No, it's just shit.
Although I did a little bit when we get to the next part, I did a little something funny when we get to the following one that I think you'll enjoy. But yeah, I mean,
even now with the whole, again, like I don't understand why they're making such a big, hey, we're gonna break this faction and it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be great, you're gonna take over Raw. And then what? You're going to then just be a middle card faction and you're going to chase this one other middle card guy down the whole time. That's your whole thing.
Here's the thing. We've talked about this several times. The whole reason, and this is Vince's kind of MO, he likes to try to, because he has his finger on the pulse of culture.
Yeah.
He tried to make him Antifa because that's what he's always done. Whoever is the troublemaker, he tries to make a villain faction out of him. I mean, he did the same thing when he put Sergeant Slaughter in with Adnan El-Casey and the Sheik.
Yeah.
Those
guys will be in Waterloo this year as long as that happens.
Awesome. He did the same thing with, and we've talked about the guy that he made the Saudi terrorist or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be pulled. He's
Mohammed Hassan.
That's right. But Vince likes to pull that, and it typically it gets a lot of heat. But then this got no heat because it was so stupid.
It was just all over the place. I think it had steam when they were doing the cut-ins and outs, and it was just the black hoodies. As soon as they added the Halloween mask, it was like, huh?
Yeah.
And then they gave them names, and it was like, well, I don't want to call this guy Nut Zipper guy or whatever his name is. Like, that's just
Slap
weird.
Nuts.
Yeah, that dude. And then you see like, oh, these are actually really talented people that are getting wasted in this position. And then again, now you're seeing Ricochet's just in this cycle too, where it's like, this guy's an amazing talent, but because he ain't the size that Vince McMahon likes, look where he's stuck at. And now it's like they've made a whole thing out of just Retribution chasing Ricochet. I'm sorry. Wasn't Retribution supposed to take over WWE? We're going to take over because you guys didn't take care of it. But how did that turn into you're just obsessed with Ricochet? You know what I mean?
They weren't.
What the shit is
Hey,
that?
Ricky.
You know?
Yeah. The masks and silly names. You got T-Bone, Slap Nuts. I don't know. I just make up names because it doesn't make any difference. It's ridiculous. Everybody knows who they were. And by the way, Jason, Keith Lee's call up handled kind of crappily. Yeah. I don't know that. I mean, I wouldn't say that's the biggest flop. I will tell you what my biggest flop is, and that's this woman right here, Tessa Blanchard. After she wins the entire promotions world championship with Impact, decides she ain't gonna play no more.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard about this, but like a week or two ago, who's her stepdad?
Magnum PA.
He was out there doing some interview, and he was saying that like, oh no, she did. They wanted to give her like more money to come back and do this, and she did with her obligations and all this stuff, but. You know, it's funny because I've seen people online talk about where she's going to go. And like, oh, I bet WWE is just waiting, or AEW can't wait to get her. And it's like, you guys, if someone was going to sign her, they would have done it. No, she's spending her time in Mexico right now. I was like, no, if someone threw a money contract at her because she's such a star, she'd be over there. She would be there. Her dad in AEW, pretty sure he's like, hey, honey, they want to pay you. Come. She's going to go. The problem is she has a bad reputation.
She's got a bad reputation on a number of fronts, and you recall this when this happened, and Jason, I don't know if you were listening when we were doing it. I was truly excited because I went back and I paid for that pay-per-view so I could watch her against Sami Callihan, and it was fantastic. And then it's just like a lot of guys I know. It's like they get on TV as comedians, and then they squander it. And that's exactly what she did. She went and granted, she had some problems. I think Allison Kay was flipping her some crap on Twitter about some stuff that happened in Japan. But the point is, here she was poised to be on the Charlotte Flair level.
Yeah.
And then it just all went away.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you've heard a lot of, like, here's the thing. You hear the things about why they don't want to hire her. You know, she's hard to work with. She puts the other women down, all this stuff. But I don't know if it's true. I do know that it seemed odd how she was handling the Impact stuff. Like, it was almost like a Bret Hart deal. It's like, no, you don't pick and do what you want to do with the company's title that you don't own, you work for.
Yeah.
They ultimately have creative control. You have to do what they say, which is why I will always say Bret Hart did screw Bret Hart because, bro, it ain't up to you. You're leaving. You told him you're leaving. You signed the contract. You're going to bigger, better things. Why does he have to listen to you on how you want to drop the belt just because you're in Canada in your hometown? No, bro. You're screwing him. He told you he can't pay you. You still chose to go for the bigger money and less travel. Look what ended up happening. And at the end of the day, you're the one that was like, no, I'm not dropping the title. So it's like, well, dude, that's not your decision. I will say this. I've met Tessa Blanchard, and when I met her, unbelievably sweet, very nice girl.
Yeah.
That was like 6 years ago. I don't know what's changed. Again, a lot of it sounded like it was really towards the women in the locker room.
Yeah.
She was kinda keeping them down. So either way, though, if she was going to be hired, she'd be hired. So
absolutely.
Oh man, I like that pick.
Well, that's because I've been paying attention to shit. All right. So our next category, the strangest storyline of 2020. And believe me, there were a lot of them. But yours, hey, look who it is.
Yeah. I do have one excuse me.
And look what I did there. See, it's a different cast of Retribution towards the beginning. That's how shitted up that thing was.
So who's the ones that aren't there anymore? Was that really Chelsea Green?
Yeah. This is all right.
Lucky she escaped that.
Yeah, she's lucky. Caden Carter's out of there. Shane Thorne is out of there.
What's up with that? All the women in there are leaving it except Mia.
I don't know. Mercedes Martinez was on that list.
Oh,
and got out of there. I think she was only there maybe 2 shows.
Now, here's the thing with this pick, though. What I really wanted to say was Eric Rowan and the Spider, but I thought that was 2019. I couldn't remember if it was like right at the end or if it maybe was in like January when that happened. I know there was still a live crowd, so that's why I was like, that might have been 2019. Again, this is what this year's been like, dude. Everything's just back together.
It's very hard to distinguish where something fell, but also.
And then on top of it, it just really was a strange storyline because, again, they come in as this group trying to terrorize WWE and take over, and then all of a sudden it's just, no, it's really just this guy was mad because he's little and you didn't give him a chance, so he got his big friends to come help him, and now they're really obsessed with the guy who flies around the ring a lot. Like that's
I'll tell you, here's the thing. The only thing that Retribution was good for was getting the Hurt Business over like crazy. They made them look like the biggest studs in the world. And that's what floored me.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it was like it was a gigantic squash match.
Yeah, and the other thing with it, too, was the fact of when they did the reveal for Muhammad Ali, it was like, or Mustafa Ali, sorry. It was like, yeah, because Muhammad Ali is better. Sorry. Mustafa Ali, and this is to my point, is a great talent, should be doing bigger, better things. Apparently, he's just not seen that way. But like when you had him when it was revealed he was in charge for that one night, you got everybody back.
Yeah.
And then you just lost it again the next show.
Absolutely.
So it's like you had 2 chances to make this work and you failed at both. I'm surprised they're even on TV still. Like
I'm right there with you.
And there's no plans because if there was, Mia Yim would have some other female she's going against.
Oh yeah,
as part of Retribution, and they haven't even done that with her yet. So it's like there's nothing happening with this.
It's amazing because they're it seems like when we come across these strange storylines that we because mine is a WWE storyline, but I gotta be honest with you. I toyed with having Brandy Rhodes Nightmare Collective as my strangest storyline, and I didn't because the one that I've chosen here is way more bizarre to me in terms of tradition, and that's this thing. That's this miserable chunk of crap. Otis wins the Money in the Bank match, and everybody loves it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, we really don't want him to have it. And now they go through this rigmarole. They don't even have a match, for the goddamn thing.
Right.
Yeah, it did have an ending. but yeah, here's the thing.
Yeah, and that's what this one came down to is it was Otis was a fan favorite. We're going to get a pop if we do this. Let him win it. And then, oh, wait, but now we actually have to we don't want to do this with him.
But we do it, but we don't do it in the ring. We do it in a fake ass court that's a comedy court. And then to top it off, because you and I talked about this last week, I think. To top it off, The Miz Morrison cashes in this thing at TLC. And I think, oh, good. Get him the hell out of here. And we talked about this last week. They're going to give it back to him because of this shit. And they did. And they did give it back to him. You have no idea how loud I was yelling at my TV.
When they showed them two sitting on the steps and Scrap Daddy comes up, I'm sorry, Adam Pearce comes up, I was just laughing because I was like, oh, he's going to give him the briefcase back. And to be honest, I was like, you know what? Hey, ho, ho. Go for it.
It's just ridiculous. And so what we know is, kangaroo court. There you go. Nice. Here's the thing that I know is going to happen now. I know that Miz is going to win the championship because otherwise, why would they give it back to him?
Yeah, I mean that's
so now there's you have all these scenarios. You have this. Well, does he win it? Does he win it straight off of McIntyre? I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is that because they got this next pay-per-view coming up, and or Legends Night or whatever the hell it is, and Keith Lee and McIntyre have a match, and does Keith Lee beat him on Legends Night, and then Miz cashes in? Who knows? Who knows? But I just know that it's going to be so convoluted.
You know what I think what's going to happen? Because now that you mention it, this is a good way to give McIntyre his moment at Mania.
Yeah.
Because if you have him go in as champ, and I don't know what the rumors are right now of who his Mania opponent is being talked to be right now. I honestly, actually, I don't know at all. If anybody watching knows if McIntyre, what his rumor opponent is to be right now for Mania, let us know. But what I'm guessing is he's going to have a hell of a match at Mania. He's going to come out on top. You have the Miz come with Morrison, make it look like there's just no way he's going to be able to fight them off because he just had this epic match. And then he does beat them, though. And then then you just kind of now really made him look like a badass. He beat Brock Lesnar the year before. He just had this kick-ass match. He's beaten Bobby Lashley. Who has he been with? Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
All these guys, all these big guys. And then after a hell of a match at WrestleMania, the Miz comes out. They take advantage, but he still somehow can't lose. He wins because, again, I just don't see them not having some fans at that stadium for Mania. They can do it in Florida. I don't see them not doing it. I'm still surprised they're going to probably not do fans for Rumble. That's going to be weird, but I just don't see them not having anybody there for Mania. So it could be a good way to do that. Otherwise, I mean, just Miz he's not in a position right now that it's like that should be the top guy.
Not at all. Not at all. But he's going to be a placeholder for sure. Just like the Iron Sheik was for Hogan.
As long as he keeps singing the song with Morrison, I'm down.
Hey, ho, ho, they got to go. Anyway. All right. So our final category on our review of 2020, the best storyline of 2020. And I'm going to go first because mine was Kenny and Hangman. I loved the entire time that they were champions together as tag partners. I loved the separation that went through. And I love how it turned out. Not my favorite, because Hangman's still sort of in this limbo area, and Kenny's now the cleaner again. But during that time that they were champions and they were in the drinking and the separation, I thought that was fantastic. So that's my best storyline.
It was a really good one. I really did enjoy it. I just like Hangman. Like, the guy's just good at whatever he's doing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was good. Yeah, I mean, mine isn't, I guess you would say, like an actual. See, I was going storyline, and to me, this was absolutely the best storytelling we saw this year. Because the moment that's on the screen right now at the Pat McAfee radio show, when that first happened, for that first like week, it was heavily debated if this was a work or if that was a shoot. No one knew for a little while until it finally started to become clear, like, oh, okay, no, it was a work, and McAfee's going to actually get in the ring.
Yeah.
But and the other thing too is, if you think back to that, when they show like the video package that led up to that match, they were planting seeds for this a year or two ago.
Oh yeah,
doing all the watch-alongs, and McAfee was hosting them, and Cole would come in and they would bump heads. That was the seeds being planted, And then that moment when he knocks the stuff over in the radio studio was where it was like, now it's time.
Yeah. And it was in for his first match, it was fantastic as well.
The first match was fantastic, but I mean, just everything because again, it's all about the story. Yeah. So the storytelling was just beautiful. In the match, it was beautiful, but again, the going on the actual radio show, not just WWE programming, on McAfee's radio show, and starting that storyline, to McAfee being at the commentary desk during that NXT where he eventually, Cole gets distracted and starts yelling at him, and then that's when he punts Cole in the face. Like, to me, I marked out so hard because it was like, dude, this is just beautiful.
Yeah,
it was just beautiful. It was perfect, and they were selling it so good, both sides. enough that when I saw this week that Pat McAfee's being pulled off WWE TV for right now, it was like, what are you doing? Like, unless he's just too busy, but that didn't sound like the case. What are you doing? This guy is hot. He's the best talker you got. Yeah. Like, I didn't give a shit about the two guys who were tag team champs in NXT until they joined up with McAfee. Like,
oh yeah,
really good, but that was all there was to them. There was no real anything to set them over that hump. But then you put the mic on McAfee representing them, and it was like, okay, I'm in.
It's a great story.
And that's just it too. That's what makes that even better is when you get to the real story and it was like stupid things rich people buy. And he's like, yeah, the stupidest or the like biggest thing I bought that it was like, why did I just do this? Was a wrestling ring. And then look what happens years later. It's like, well, it paid off because you just had two great matches on NXT programming. And it's just, again, and I even was like, when they started using him on some of the panels for NXT, I was like, who is this guy? He's kind of a loudmouth. I don't know if I'm.
Do you remember when they had him do some kind of backstage interview on for one of the Manias, and he was dressed in some goofball tux with shorts?
Another great story behind that because I guess Michael Cole just went off.
Yeah,
about to send him home. All this stuff until someone went up to Vince McMahon and showed him a picture on Twitter of LeBron James wearing the same outfit going to one of the playoff games, and he was like, "Oh, okay." It's like. Well, if LeBron James is doing it, it's okay then.
I'm going to pop Jason's other comment up because he agreed with me. See,
yeah,
and it's true. I think it's fantastic, and I there have been a handful of really good stories. There have been a handful of matches, particularly AEW, where they're fantastic matches, but there is no real story to it.
Yeah, and that's that was kind of my thing for AEW for this first year of being Dynamite is it's good. It's really good. And I love it. But it's like, again, that women's division could be doing so much more and they're not doing it. To the point when they started bringing the NWA girls in, it's like, why are you doing this? Because you have talent that's just sitting there. You're not using them. You're not giving them any chances. You're just throwing matches together. And I just don't think they've figured out the balance of storytelling, also including their records. I think they're leaning heavily on the record side right now for all their matches, which is fine. But for example, on Monday Night Raw last night, they gave us a cliffhanger when it ended. I loved the ending segment. I just didn't like the particular way they ended it. Yeah. Not the cliffhanger. I'm down with the cliffhanger, but what do you mean? You're just gonna go off here while he's holding a match and supposedly Alexa Bliss is in front of him soaked in gasoline? Like, have something else happen. Like, that was just a weird thing because it's like, what, they're gonna stand there for a week?
See, this is yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the thing. Wrestling still is, a big smoke and mirrors show, and it's over the top. But at the end of the day, you still over the top. You find a way to make it real.
And here's the thing, though. If you go back to the great cliffhangers in episodic television, you had the cliffhanger, but you also had something happen where you had to make up your own mind what happened, i.e., who shot JR? You heard the gunshots. You saw JR slump. I'm trying to think of other ones, but
my favorite was, and this wasn't like a cliffhanger hanger. It was a cliffhanger segment because when they came back commercial, they went back. But the Brian Pillman and Stone Cold Steve Austin when he breaks into Pillman's house.
Absolutely.
And he all of a sudden, wait, no, he's got a gun. All of a sudden, just go, and then it just goes. And it's like, what? Then when you come back, Austin's trying to break in the house again. And it was just like, okay, cool. But like for me, they could have ended it with, just a shadow play, something like all of a sudden the lights come on, he's about to light her and she's gone. Or
anything.
And a picture of the Fiends on one of the screens behind him. Just something, but just leave it with him holding the match. Like, it's like, well, hey, that's going to burn out in 10 seconds.
It didn't go far. Yeah, it didn't go far enough.
It was just the wrong way to do it. I think I love the fact that we got a cliffhanger because it's been forever since they gave us that. But it was just the wrong way to do it. And to me, I feel like AEW's had problems finding their footing on that. Some stuff has just been amazing, but then there's a lot of stuff that's like. And I think also they rely heavily on the YouTube product.
See, there you go. Thanks, Dan. Dan's agreeing with me. I get a lot of people agree with me. Did you know that?
Yeah, good. That's awesome. I'm just saying that I mean, as far as the stuff for AEW, that's just like I said, I just I don't know. You know, you and I are an old school breed, and I think there is a newer generation of wrestling fans where they don't need as much substance to what's actually happening anymore. It is more like, ooh, look.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but I'm sorry, but part of the reason I fell in love with this is the storytelling. And you know, I talked about this when we were talking about TLC, just Carmella in the ring and not selling the maneuver she had on
Oh yeah.
Sasha, and it was like, oh, that's just disappointing because she's just holding her legs up. You can clearly see that. All you got to do is bend back a little bit, yank your arm a little bit, turn the ankle, and you're gonna be like, oh. And I missed those little things because that again tells the story, you know. And again, we've said this a million times. Neither company is perfect, and they both have things they can work on. And I feel that women's division in AEW is in the last month or two really starting to take some shape. But you know, hopefully bigger, better things this next year for both.
Yeah, I will say this: we talked about it last week a little bit, in terms of the women's division. If you've watched NWA Shockwave, I think it's called now. They're behind. They're behind by a ton, but they're trying to put content out. If you want to watch the match between Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, it was on the episode that they aired last Tuesday. And let me tell you, it's fantastic. But there's when you watch that, and then it's like a little light that shines that says, "Oh yeah, I kind of get now why AEW needs these girls to participate, because they still are under the gun with some injuries, I think."
Well, and I think they just led too heavy. And I don't know, I might catch heat for this, but I think they just led way too heavy on the international flavor when they first started. They brought in, Riho and Shida and 5-6 other girls from Japan or China, and they really were showcasing them. And it's like, you're not doing anything with them though. They're just there and they're just having matches. None of them can get on a mic and cut a promo right now, and you have no one talking for them. That it wasted like the first 3 months of programming for them on their women's division, when you had Britt Baker, you had Brandy, you had Awesome Kong, you had Nyla Rose, you had some really great talent backstage that you could have been doing more with. I don't know why they focus so hard though. And I do think Riho is great. I loved Riho. But I also think like probably could have did better with a title holder, just because she wasn't able to do anything though, that she couldn't.
Yeah, her personality only came through with her facial expressions.
Right, because we're not Japan or China. Like, we don't sit quietly and just clap when we see a good move, and that's like we need everything. I think
there's a couple things, and Jason's right. I mean, Thunder Rosa is I can't believe that WWE didn't sign her. I remember hearing Bully Ray talk about how he was trying to get ROH to sign her, and they just didn't want to.
Oh, she's
just so they blew it. She's fantastic, and
Britt Baker, I'm just all in.
Absolutely. And by the way, if you haven't watched Britt Baker's Waiting Room, holy crap, is that fun? That is so much fun. And she and Reba really are like in their element doing that.
Yeah,
but
fun stuff.
I think the thing you have to remember is that I kind of feel like what they did was they took these international girls, because they were already working together, and it was something that they could just compartmentalize and plug in to a spot and say, okay, you guys do this.
Yeah, and I get that.
And then what happened was, then they had the injuries, and then they had COVID, which all of those I love her. By the way, I love her laugh.
Yeah.
I will call her Reba because that's what Dr. Britt Baker calls her. But her laugh is fast. It's just the best. It is so obnoxiously, but so they lost some of them to COVID, because some of them are back from, and they can't come back into the country.
Right.
And you've got, I mean, who knows? Nyla Rose came out and beat the hell out of somebody with Vicky, but I mean, there was no point to it. They just came out and did it. Just, I mean, almost like, hey, look at my face, look at my face, look at my face. I'm still here. So it's I think it'll come around.
Well, it already is. Because I've been really enjoying Abaddon coming after Sheeta. I like, and to be honest, I wouldn't even be mad if they put the title on Abaddon. I think that'd be cool. I'm really enjoying, again, like I said, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, amazing. And you know what we were going to see with Brandy and Jade and all that stuff, I was into. Obviously it don't look like we're going to see Brandy involved in any of that, and it kind of feels like they may be pushing Red Velvet into that spot, which obviously I'm 100% behind.
Yeah,
that I'm like 200% behind that. Like, do it. Which, by the way, if anybody hadn't seen that, her and West did publicly come out saying that they are engaged. So congratulations to those guys. Very happy for my friend. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's taking shape now. I am more interested now. It's just, I felt like they wasted a lot of time this year with it, though.
Yeah, but I mean, in the other part of that story too is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and if you guys are watching, you may know better than me. I think Kenny was in charge of the women's division.
Yeah, he was,
and he got himself sort of involved in other stuff. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the thing is, Anna Jay has not even a year, right?
Yeah, considering how long she's been in the business, she is very good. Very good. You know, another talent, Tay Conte, her friend, another super talented person who WWE shit the bed on. They had her in NXT. She could have been doing so much more, but they just well, you're from Brazil. You're Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Go out there and do your thing. No, like, give her something. Let her do something, and they didn't. You know, so yeah, and Chris Statlander coming back hopefully soon. That'll be fun too. Like, there's a lot of exciting things coming for AEW. I've been wondering too if Awesome Kong's going to make an appearance back eventually, because
she's still on their roster.
Yeah, and Glow got the axe, so filming. So yeah, again, overall, great year for AEW. I mean, a really great, solid first year run. Good, exciting to see what they're going to be doing next. It's going to keep growing and getting bigger. And, you know, I think in the last few months, we've seen some good stuff out of WWE too. I love The Fiend and Alexa. Alexa's a star. She proved that again last night. Holds her own against Orton in the ring beautifully. Kevin Owens is just putting on matches like crazy lately, that it's like, this guy needs to get shot to the moon. McIntyre's a stud. You know, Roman Reigns is looking great right now. I mean, there's just a lot of good. Edge supposedly coming back for the Rumble, hopefully. You know, there's a lot of cool things to look forward to too. Charlotte just came back. You know, we hopefully will see some more stuff happen with the women's division, because I feel it's getting a little stale for WWE right now. Could use a little shot of something. So yeah, you know, it'll be interesting. And for WWE side of things, we are getting into that most exciting season of all for WWE, and that is WrestleMania season. We're about a month away from the Rumble, and that's the kickoff, and that's when we see a lot of things happen for them. So yeah, we got a lot of cool things coming our way. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I love me some Sami Zayn as a heel IC champ. I really do. To be honest, what I miss is back in the day, you know, JR, storylines used to actually, we would see a legit feud take a year.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Where now it's literally like, okay, you get like, and this is something that I didn't really like so much for AEW, is it literally was like, I'm gonna feud with you for 2 months. We had our match. Okay, bye, next guy. And it's like, man, I want more. Let this go. You have wheels. You don't need to just end it. Let it go for a couple more months. Get some more matches out of these people. Like, you look back at the Attitude Era, the 80s, the 90s, everything went longer than a couple months.
Oh yeah.
And now everything's just so, and it's just like, oh man. Because again, there's so many things. Hangman and Omega could have gone way longer. Bucks and FTR should have gone longer, because we should still get another, even though it was a no right match, it could be so much better if we get them all 4 healthy, you know. Yeah, just a lot of stuff, man. It'll be a fun year for wrestling. Hopefully by the end of 2021 we'll actually be able to go to some shows.
That'd be nice.
Hopefully.
I look forward to it. You know, I think the last one we planned on going to was actually in my backyard. I don't mean my actual backyard. I mean, I could have walked to the show.
Oh, was that the first wrestling?
We were going to go to that.
Oh yeah, the Kick Start Your Heart show.
Start Your Heart one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but, so I don't know.
Who knows?
What I do know is that the Waterloo Hall of Fame is being announced. More stuff came out. They're doing a women's match, and Red Velvet is officially announced for the show.
Oh, awesome.
Which means I can now also officially say that for the live anniversary Briscoe Big Ace podcast show that we're going to be doing that weekend down at the Hall of Fame, she is one of our guests.
Great.
I can confirm that one. And again, we're planning that it's happening. Who knows what's going to happen once we get to July? But as of now, we're planning it's happening. So George Tragus Luthez Hall of Fame weekend, Waterloo, Ohio at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Check it out on Facebook. All X passes are on sale right now. Again, Colt Cabana is going to be there. Brian Pillman Jr. is going to be there. Red Velvet's going to be there. Jerry Briscoe, Sergeant Slaughter, J.J. Dillon, Mark Henry, Trish Stratus. I know I'm missing people. Adnan is going to be there. Thunderbolt Patterson. I'm wondering if JR is going to be there. He used to go every year. He hasn't been there for like the last 3 years, and every year they try to get him and he's there and then he has to cancel. So maybe this year will be the year we get the return of good old JR. And again, you can see me and Les Briscoe do our live show. Usually some other cool podcasts going on. Usually Wade Keller does a really great podcast down there live. You guys can all check out too. So make sure you check that out. I love that they're just going, Jason and Eric, you guys are awesome. Love you guys. I'm so bummed that I can't go on the cruise, and I also just want to say, because we've mentioned it on this show before too, though, but everything that with what was going on with Brodie Lee and AEW and all the sad news that happened, because I do support them, so I do I do support the decision that Pro Wrestling Torch made and that Wade Keller made, and that was relieving Bruce Mitchell of his duties today with Pro Wrestling Torch. It's all about timing, and that was just not good timing, and really just something that didn't need to come out. And I've known Bruce for many years through the Hall of Fame, and he's always been a nice guy. So it sucks to see that happened, but I think Wade Keller made the right call on that one. And I hope it didn't cause any problems for the family and stuff like that. So, I just don't want people to like look at Wrestling Torch bad now because of that they shouldn't. So yeah, man. Next week though, Briscoe and Big A show will be back next Thursday. I think it's like the 4th or 5th of January, and it's a special episode. We're going to officially finally have Papa Briscoe on the show, Jerry Briscoe.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So next week, watch for it, guys.
Are we allowed to have highlights
of what?
Nothing. I was going to say some clips, and we'll use clips of you and Wes's show during our show.
Yeah.
No, but then what'll happen is YouTube will strike us for copyright.
Oh, well, because it's ours.
Yeah, it's yours.
Would it though if you show it while I'm on the screen live too, though? Like how you?
I'm just saying. I'm surprised that I don't get pulled down for putting stuff in my background.
Yeah, I think you're good. Well, it's public domain, right? It's on YouTube. You're not making money. We're not monetized, so we make no money. So they probably don't care. As soon as that happens, we're screwed.
We're only about 1,500 subscribers short, and I can't think of them. I think we need 1,000 hours viewing in a year. So
something like that, yeah. We're away from 500 subscribers, though.
Well, yeah, that's true.
No, the announcement never came out. Randy Orton is an asshole. If you watch Jerry Briscoe's Twitter, and then just a lot of things happened, and kind of got away from there. And to be honest, I don't know the inner workings of that. I don't know what that announcement was ever going to be, if there was one. I do know I think he's on a show now on that ad-free network, so that might have been what it was. And I know him and Wes started some businesses too that they're really promoted too. But yeah, very excited. We're gonna get some cool stories that he couldn't talk about due to the non-compete that he can now talk about.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Well, that seems like we did a pretty good job tonight.
It was a good show, man. It was a good list. Yeah, man. What do you want to do next week?
Probably do a show.
Nice. All right.
I don't know. Let's think about it, and if anybody has an idea of some kind of a list we should do for next week, we could do that. Maybe things worth looking forward to. I don't know. This was a nice list. I enjoyed it. Excuse me. I liked going through what I thought was a whole year of wrestling.
Yeah, definitely made me jog the memory. That was nice.
Yeah. But I don't know. Let's think about it. We'll maybe get together. If something good comes up, we'll do that. Otherwise, let's see if we can get a guest.
Yeah, we can do that. Definitely.
See if we can get somebody that's either a wrestler or a comedian, or you know what? Both. You know that there's a couple of those.
I was gonna say I know there's a couple, but I don't know who they are off the top of my head or if I know any of them. But I do know that there's a couple other guys that we've been talking to that owe us an appearance on this show. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna make some phone calls this week.
Yeah. So anyway, we appreciate you guys watching with us, and again, just a reminder: if you want to help Brodie Lee's family, get a shirt or something from any number of places.
Yeah, anything that's going to his family, feel free. Please do something. You know, knowing that that's going to his wife and kids, it's definitely well worth it. So do it. And then you can have something cool to always remember a great talent. And
Absolutely.
So, yeah, man.
Nah, we couldn't get Ziggler to show up in Rochester. I think he did something at the Mall of America up here. But honest to God, I think he stopped doing it.
Comedy? I haven't seen him been doing it lately.
I don't think he may not have stopped doing, but he's not. If he is doing it, he's not promoting it, and it's nowhere around here. And I think maybe that partially is because of COVID too.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of places like so. What happens with comedy is the big places up here in Minneapolis are still doing shows, which is two. Mall of America, which is the House of Comedy, and Acme Comedy Club, which is downtown Minneapolis. They're big enough they can still do a 25% show and still have close to 100 people in there. But what they're doing is they're not taking any. I mean, they're taking like top-notch comedians. So you got to have a TV credit, or you're not going to be working there. Even though Ziggler's got a TV credit, he's what's considered a novelty act. And they wouldn't book him. I also assume that WWE doesn't want him doing anything other than wrestle right now.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big lockdown on talent from the wrestling world as far as
he may come out and do it. But no, there's a few local guys. I know Colt Cabana's buddy Marty DeRosa is he's done a couple of matches, but he's more comedian. I got to work with him out in Indiana. He's more a comedian than a wrestler, but he's definitely been trained by Colt. Mm-hmm. So he might be an interesting guy. He's got a neat podcast he does called Wrestling with Depression. But anyway.
You know, and speaking of comedians, well wishes sent to our friend Brad Williams. I don't know if you saw it, but he announced that him and his family are in isolation right now. Someone over there had gotten COVID. So well wishes to Brad and his family, buddy. Hopefully you guys get better over there.
Absolutely. All right, folks. We appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. We will look forward to seeing you again next week at 8:00 Central Time, right here on the 2 Count. Bye-bye.
Bye.